We very much welcome Armenia's commitment to reform and also to implement the CEPA, the Comprehensive Enhanced Partnership Agreement that we have signed 2 years ago, and which indeed constitutes, if you want, a very comprehensive, hence its name, for reform. And I must say we've been very positively and impressed by the professionalism, the seriousness with which Armenian government, Armenian authorities have taken this agreement, these engagements, and it's good because it's very motivating to see that what we do will actually deliver benefits for the people of Armenia, which is why we do these agreements, of course for the benefit of people of the European Union as well, and not for whatever other reasons you may have heard. I'll come to that in a second. But I wanted to commend Avet and its team, and also we just had a meeting with Deputy Prime Minister Grigorian, and where we could discuss in depth what steps Armenian government will take to implement this agreement, which will be discussed in depth on 16 December in Brussels at the occasion of our annual bilateral committee. And this is a very positive event. You know that this agreement, or in general our bilateral relations, do not come in isolation. They are part of a wider policy of the European Union, which is the Eastern Partnership, which also celebrates this year its 10th anniversary. And I'm very happy that with Armenia, probably was the first country with whom we could apply the principle of differentiation. In other words, to adopt a tailor-made approach to the events of 2013, and we came up with an agreement in 2016 that was patiently, if I can say so, tailor-made to Armenian needs and goals. And it's important to say this because at a moment where there are so many divided lines in Europe or in wider Europe, I think it's important to insist that Eastern Partnership is definitely not a divisive policy. It's a policy of building bridges, not building divisions or creating divisions. And the European Union is the evidence of this when it decided, even in 2013, to maintain the most generous unilateral mechanism of trade preferences called GSP Plus, Generalized System of Preferences Plus, for Armenia. And I think it was very generous of our European Union and its member states, and I'm very happy we did it. As I was mentioning, indeed, the CEPA represents, if the Armenian government so wishes, a key tool for reform and modernization. And we're very happy that since a year and a half now, a bit more than a year, the government has indeed put human rights and rule of law at the heart of its reform efforts, and this is also topics which are extremely important in the CEPA, and which we also discussed this morning at the Human Rights Ombudsman anniversary event. Indeed, the CEPA introduces EU level of standards in all key areas for both the business and the people, ranging from environmental protection to transport, safety, helping the business environment, absolutely key in this country, trade investment, new jobs, business opportunities, etc. It's extremely comprehensive. I will not bother you with the details, but if you have questions, I'm happy to take them. We are also happy that Armenian civil society is actively monitoring and contributing to the implementation of the agreement. This is extremely key, and it's all the more topical that the current Prime Minister used to be a very active member of civil society before coming to EU delegation organized events. So we know it's in safe hands there. Particularly, we have been positively pleased by the judicial reform strategy, which I think is key, which was adopted on 10 October. We are working on supporting this actively, and Lawrence will will go in further details in this regard. And we had a justice policy dialogue here in Yerevan on 4 October, showing progress and paving the way for further EU financial assistance budget support in this regard. There are other sectors than justice which deserve attention. I'm thinking of education, which is a very key. Education is the future, particularly for countries who want to either get away of or not have economy based on minerals. And education goes hand in hand with business climate and hand in hand with IP protection, with a number of things like that, because if you have ideas, if you educate people, it's for the people to have ideas, and if they have ideas, these ideas need to be transposable into business. And to be transposable into business, one way or another, they will go through protection of intellectual property. And European Union has some experience to share in this regard. So I think that we are looking forward to a positive meeting on 16 December. We will go into the details of reviewing what is actually being done. We are interested on what's going on for the population of Armenia and not just ticking boxes in a bureaucratic or technocratic manner. And we are looking also forward to continue support Armenian government into its reform efforts. And Lawrence will say a bit more about this. Thank you.
I'd like to just say three things in addition to what Luke said. Firstly, why does Armenia benefit from the comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement? We strongly believe, as Luke has said, that this will create new opportunities for people, new jobs, and it will help shape an economy that works for all. Secondly, what are we doing on the side of the European Union to support the implementation of what is nonetheless a quite technical and complex agreement? We're putting a very substantial investment of 23 million euros to support the reforms that the Prime Minister has set out, which are ambitious, to make Armenia ready to benefit from the potential of this agreement. And I'd like to highlight in particular a 10 million euro facility which will help access finance, which is such a crucial issue for all the small and medium-sized enterprises to really unharness the potential of this ambitious agreement. Thirdly and finally, why invest in Armenia? People like Luke and I are passionate Armenophiles and have been here many times, and we are often underlining it, but I'd like to give you three reasons here today. Firstly, we see an ambitious vision from the Prime Minister and the government in terms of reform. That includes on justice reform, on tackling corruption, and also on public administration reform. And we've just come from a very productive exchange with Deputy Prime Minister Grigorian on this very subject. Secondly, Armenia is a country famous for innovation, and we are going to had the pleasure of visiting, of course, the TUMO Center, but there's much more than that, the creative industries in Gyumri, and innovation is at the heart of what you're doing. I would also add the creative industries. I'm very much looking forward after this press conference is finished to the fashion show, which will once again showcase the best talent that Armenia has. And thirdly and finally, and I'm sure that will be part of the same, we are investing in youth. And the future of Armenia is in its people. It's extremely bright, hospitable people, and I'm very much looking forward to the exchange today. Thank you very much.